Johnny Lawrence versus Daniel LaRusso. Who's better? Video over, good night. Just kidding, but on a real note, who's actually the better sensei? People think I'm biased towards Johnny based on the title of my videos, even though if you watch the videos, you would know I like both of them. But besides that, I actually wanted to break down their fights with both perspectives in mind, and we are not only going to be talking solely about Cobra Kai. First, let's take it back to where it all started. So we start Karate Kid off with Johnny believing that Daniel is trying to hit on his girl, so he basically says back off, trying to push him towards the ground, and Daniel being just hit by a dude because he claims a girl that's not his girl is actually his girl. Daniel sucker punches Johnny, and this enrages him, forcing him to now strike hard and show no mercy, and Daniel after this would go on to leave things alone, but after some little chicken nugget fights at school, he goes on to then strike at Johnny by dousing him with the hose after getting some motivation by Ali, and like how Daniel tried defending himself, Johnny does the same, but now trying to jump the dude instead. And this is when from Johnny's POV, his karate teacher comes in and just dismantles him and his friends like it's nothing, and this completely crushes his spirit, and all Johnny did was just try to give Daniel a taste of his own medicine. But what's funny about this is Daniel is sort of doing the same thing. Plus, we saw how in Cobra Kai he believed the hose to be the least of the problems they had, trying to justify himself. Just like how Johnny did when trying to fight Daniel at the beach. As you all know, they would settle their fight in the tournament with Daniel becoming the winner and now Johnny being the loser. We skip to 20 plus years later and Daniel is a car salesman living his best life while Johnny is at his lowest point, barely getting by. Johnny decides to make a change for himself by bringing back the one thing that kept his head above water. However, Daniel is not aware of this and assumes what happened in the 80s is now happening again. Which is pretty reasonable to assume, but just imagine if we had a scene where Daniel simply asked Johnny what was his motivation behind Cobra Kai and the whole show would have been over. To be fair, Johnny did say his feelings at the All Valley board meeting and Daniel didn't care, so maybe it wouldn't have done anything, but it would have been cool if these two actually talked it out. Anyways, as we know, Daniel isn't really in that balanced mindset he's always in and instinctively lets his anger get the better of him. And after trying to tell Johnny to quit it and Miguel's mom forbidding Miguel from using Cobra Kai, Johnny, while at a low point and intoxicated, would paint over Daniel's billboard, which causes Daniel to then come up with a multi-step plan to get rid of not only Cobra Kai but the other stores that are around Cobra Kai. Now, did Johnny strike first? Yes, but to be fair, he was intoxicated and it was a situation so little and Daniel took it to another level. At this point, both characters have justified reasons for their actions, and so far with context, the conflict isn't really one-sided. Now, after this point, we'd get Miyagi-Do opening up, along with Miguel and Sam getting together, and now Robby being added into the mix. Johnny would go on to prove to the All Valley board, which included Daniel LaRusso, that his Cobra Kai is not the same as the old Cobra Kai, and instead, he's trying to actually make an impact on these kids' lives. Daniel, being clouded by hate, just doesn't see this at all, but it doesn't matter because Johnny catches that W, and it isn't until Daniel's hate on Cobra Kai starts rubbing off on Sam, which causes her and Miguel to split, which is by extension Johnny and Daniel's fault. And as Johnny is trying to get his life together and actually trying to reach out to Robby, he gets his car smashed by Daniel's cousin, and is now ready to try and throw hands with Daniel, because from Johnny's POV, Daniel just literally tried fucking breaking his property. And Johnny's ready to beat up Daniel because from his perspective, he thinks Daniel just set up the whole thing. However, Daniel had really no involvement in this, and it was mainly because of Louis, which caused the two to stalemate and conflict yet again. And Daniel now has to get this man a car, which actually allows these two to spend the entire day together. And for the first time in the series, we get Johnny and Daniel actually having stuff in common, and despite Daniel drinking the classic olive martini in contrast to Johnny drinking the cheap beer, these two are one and the same and both realistically should get along, but they don't because Robby, who is the perfect tool to make these two hate each other again, and this causes Johnny's rage to then sink into Miguel, which allows him to win unfairly. We move into next season where Johnny is trying to better himself and correct the lesson while Daniel is trying to open up Miyagi-Do. We know that Daniel was being a rat and trying to throw shade at Cobra Kai while trying to get clout for his dojo, but Johnny equally disrespects him by disrespecting his presentation at Valley Fest. Now after this, these two sort of leave each other alone as Daniel is focused with Miyagi trying to take out Kreese, who Johnny gave a second chance to. Meanwhile, Daniel keeps Robby at his house when he should have realistically asked Johnny to, but despite these issues, and Daniel sort of confusing Kreese's lessons with Johnny's lessons, these two are once again shown to be capable of getting along, and this is in season 2 episode 9 while Johnny and Carmen are out on a date, showing again that there's hope for these two. Until this happens. Season 3, instead of showing subtle hints of these two getting along but then don't, we have the opposite. Season 3, instead of showing subtle hints of the two getting along but then don't, we have the exact opposite. This season actually brings them together by having them get past their issues and even trying to save the likes of Robby and take down Kreese. We see that their teamwork doesn't really work due to Johnny on edge while trying to save Robby, and as for them trying to work together to take down Kreese, I'll save that for the Season 4 section. But what I mainly want to talk about is how Season 3 put these two in the right direction, and that's all thanks to one person, Allie. Allie was the main person who sort of ignited their conflict from day one, which is the reason we are even at this current point today. So having Allie be the same person to come in and tell both of them, hey, you're both dumb, is the perfect wake-up call for these two. And this season also just focuses on these two and their arcs individually, and how Johnny bounces back from losing Cobra Kai and Daniel bounces back from post-school fight and post-Okinawa training. Both grew individually, and now they both know who's the real threat, that being John Kreese. And so now we arrive at Season 4, where we have these two seemingly opposites come together, and it's almost damn impossible. I mean, the only reason they even teamed up for so long was because of the kids and them wanting to help one another. But realistically, these two styles are so opposite from each other, this should really never work unless these two actually put their differences aside, which they managed to do, kinda. They help out Sam by telling her to apply both offense and defense, all the while Eli is forced to use both styles in order to actually stand a chance against Robby, and both senseis know in order for them to win, they had to use both styles. And despite Daniel and Johnny not liking the opposite style, they both actually found a way to incorporate that same style. And both of them coming to this realization and deciding to help each other out is the perfect arc to transition into Season 5 from. These two probably won't see each other until halfway through the season due to Johnny traveling, but the second he returns, best believe the two senseis will join forces once again. And in conclusion, I think after breaking down all the scenarios where both characters felt attacked, it seems like there's context that sort of justifies their actions, or at least makes them make sense as to why they did that. Johnny versus Daniel, who's right? The answer is both, or neither, or yeah, it's none of them. I don't know. Both senseis are great in their own way, and I already know there's gonna be a comment, Tyler, you call Johnny perfect, clearly you're biased. Just watch the video, man. Anyways, I'm gonna go hibernate. Goodbye. Thank you for 50K!